a lot of people don't know that she's had issues with like kidnapping, like human trafficking. Like she invited you over to her home.
She was clearly intoxicated. She was like taking her top off. She was telling me how attractive she found me and that she wanted to fuck me. And then she said to me, everything you've read about in the news about me kidnapping people is true. That's like when I was made a run for it, like shortly after that, because it became extremely clear that I wasn't just there to be her friend. I was being groomed into a trafficking situation.
Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Let's Get Into It podcast hosted by me, Sloan. And today we are joined by a super special, controversial guest named Ava Louise. I am so excited to have you. Like literally you were on the top 5 of people I wanted to have in my podcast series in season 1. Seriously, because I've watched you for so long. And then there's so many layers to your social media career. Even doing the research this morning, I was like, whoa, just taken back with how much you've been involved in.
Yeah, it's been like an interesting couple of years because it never really ends.
Yeah.
But
well, it
I've
seems like every couple months you have some type of big scandal or something go viral. And more recently, you had that situation with Blac Chyna, which is what kind of connected us and led to this episode. So let's go ahead and start off by talking about Blac Chyna. Most of you guys know Blac Chyna as Rob Kardashian's baby mama, and she's was part of the Kardashian clan. So how did that whole situation begin?
Well, I shot her a DM on Instagram saying, because my friend, my best friend, is a huge Blac Chyna fan. I was a fan of hers, I guess, when I was younger and in high school, and she was with Rob and stuff. I was Kardashian obsessed, you know what I'm saying? So I was very interested, I guess, in maybe meeting her when my friend said, oh my God, shoot her a DM and see if she would collab with you, because obviously she's more famous than me and whatever. So I felt like it would be cool to meet her, but I never, expected a response from her. And then I just happened to be in LA because I was dating a guy out there at the time, and she responded and said, let's do it. And I was like, oh my God, also for OnlyFans and stuff, I just wanted to go do a lingerie shoot or something with her. And post it on Insta and stuff. I thought it would be funny because I had the whole Jeffrey Kanye situation and she's Blac Chyna. I was like, this could be a moment. So I was enthusiastic about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it seemed like she was down. So I think you initially started messaging in earlier this year, June kind of time. And
yeah, I sent her a message in June. She didn't answer until August.
So when it came to August, were you still in LA at that point?
Well, when I messaged her in June, I wasn't even in LA. What was really, really creepy is I hadn't been to LA in months. But then this was in August when we actually met. It was my first time in LA in months. And I'm like, how did she know that I was here?
Yeah.
Because why respond while I'm in LA? It was very coincidental. And I just thought I got lucky or something,
Yeah. And at this point, you weren't aware that she's had, a lot of people don't know that she's had issues with kidnapping, human trafficking. You're not the first person. So she invited you over to her home. And how did you feel when you when she asked you to come over?
Well, she FaceTimed me, she would not stop calling, and it was 2 a.m. and I was asleep at this time. And then I was telling her oh babe, sorry, I was oh, I'm at my manager's house and stuff. I don't really, I'm busy. I don't know. I was just delirious because I had just woken up. And then she started being you're a fucking catfish. She started getting a little threatening, answer the phone. I was oh my God, okay. And so I woke up and I answered the phone, and I was sitting on FaceTime with her for an hour. She was not discussing OnlyFans. She wasn't discussing anything. She was just being God told me to answer your DM. God brought us together. This is God's doing. Apologize, geez, that's my cat.
No worries.
But she was God brought us together, and because of that, you need to come to my house right now so I could give you a hug. And I added my best friend to the FaceTime call because he was the Blac Chyna fan who wanted me to meet her so bad. So I added him to the FaceTime call and he was talking to her. Like, she was clearly intoxicated. She was like taking her top off, like showing her boobs to him. She was using the bathroom on FaceTime in front of us. She was saying she wanted to sit on his face. Mind you, he is a gay man. And it was like 7 a.m. in New Jersey time. He was in New Jersey. And he was like, what is going on? And she was like, convince your friend. Shh, be quiet. She was like, convince your friend to come over right now. I'm going to take such good care of her. I want to meet her. Like, we're going to be best friends. I'm going to help her. She was showing me her music studio saying, come in, I'll show you the studio. Then me and you can make a song together. And it was 4 a.m. So I was like, do you want to just come to my house? Like, if you want to just give me a hug, like, come over.
Yeah.
She pretended she pretended to not know how to use Uber. So she shared her screen with us and was like clicking all over the screen and was like, I don't know how to Uber. I don't know how. You're going to have to Uber to me. You're going to have to come over.
And how far away is her house? Like, where is she located kind of? Like,
she's in Woodland Hills.
Woodland Hills, okay.
And I was like in Hollywood Hills. So I was like, okay, cool. Whatever. I'll just go to her. And my friend was like, obviously, like, go to Blac Chyna's house. And Blac Chyna was showing me all of her hairless cats. And I have 3. So I was like, I don't know. I just felt, I know it was 4 a.m., but I didn't feel like anything crazy was going to happen. I was like, I love a good story and like, you know, having an out-of-pocket life. That's just me.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, 100%, I'll come over. And she was like, yeah, we're not going to bed. Like, I took an Adderall. Like, I am lonely. I have absolutely no friends. You're going to be my new best friend. Come hang out. So I did it.
So you Ubered there. And what was her house like? Was it like super bougie, like Kardashian-esque?
Yeah,
like,
it was.
nice?
It's one of those like Kardashian houses. It's like a $3 million mansion. There was a pool. She had just so much stuff in there, like big posters with her face on it, like paintings, like I said, Blac Chyna. She showed me some of the rooms. I was in her kitchen for like majority of it. She like showed me her cat. His name was Mr. Monster and he was like a wolf cat. And at first it didn't seem so bad until I was forced to sign an NDA. She was like, you have to sign this. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, I've signed so many NDAs in my lifetime for people way more famous than her. So to me, that doesn't seem weird. But what was weird was I had to write on the NDA, like, what was identifying about myself, like what I was wearing. I also had to write down my best friend, who she was on FaceTime with. I had to write down stuff about him. I was like, this is odd, but I didn't think twice because, like, I wasn't using critical thinking skills, I guess. I just assumed I was at another celebrity's house and this is what you do. And then she had 2 men in there with her. That's not really something I got into in the TikTok when I spoke about it, but obviously I made the authorities and FBI and everyone else known about that. And then she said to me after I signed, everything you've read about in the news about me kidnapping people is true. And I just looked at her and was like, I only saw in the news you suing the Kardashians. I was like, I didn't see that video of her in Sacramento with that girl until after. When I told everyone what happened, they started sending me the articles being like, oh my God, this is what she does.
So those 2 men, were they like employees or friends, or how would you describe them?
This one's name was Twin and he's her boyfriend. And then the other guy was allegedly her photographer. And she was introducing me to him like, oh, he'll shoot once I get you poppin'. Now that you're going to be my girl, I'm going to make you famous and he's going to take all your pictures. I was like, okay, I'm good. But thanks. Yeah. And they didn't speak to me the entire time. She brought me into her home studio and like made me walk up the stairs first. And she stood down the stairs and like watched me walk up them. I was like, this is odd, but okay. And then they just followed her and they like sat in the room and just stared at me in silence the entire time.
So you guys, like, not much happened at the actual house. Like, you guys didn't actually collab in any way. Did she like?
No, like she was just, she showed me the studio and was like, this is where me and you are going to make a song. And she was like, I'm doing one with Bad Baby and Bad Baby was on Dr. Phil too. So I'm going to do one with you. And I think it'll be crazy. And I was just sitting there. I was like, okay, cool. Cause like I made that song that went viral in 2020. So I was like, we might as well. But then we weren't gonna make one that night. She just
Yeah.
wanted a hug. So I thought I was gonna give her my hug, give her a hug and then go home. But then it became like super clear that that's not what was gonna happen because she would not let me go.
And were you drinking too? Like, were you everyone kind of mutually drinking, hanging out? Like,
No, she didn't. I was scared to drink after she told me that she really kidnaps people.
yeah.
She kept trying to force me to drink, and I just would like pretend to sip on the cup she handed to me because I was like, I don't want to. I feel like I started getting scared, and I was like, I feel like this could be drugged, and I'm not going to do that. So I didn't drink, and she was the one drinking. She finished an entire bottle of Casamigos by herself.
Wow. And
Mm-hmm.
how did you get out of that situation?
Well, when she called Donna, the pimp, like I had sat there for 6 hours. I tried to leave twice. I have like screenshots of like my Ubers getting canceled because every time I tried to leave, she would shove me into the bathroom and like she took shits in front of me. She did all kinds of weird stuff. She forced me to wipe up all my makeup, but she was under the impression that I was transgender for some reason. So I think that was like
What?
that was like the big thing. That's why she made me take off I wasn't even wearing any makeup. Like I looked like terrible because I had been on a date with a guy the night before. I was just a mess.
Yeah.
Still hungover from my date. And she was just like thought I was, born a man. But that was just her in like her delusional state. And I don't know if you know like about what Tyga does, but Tyga allegedly is very into trans women. So to me, this all kind of makes sense. And like Chyna has tweeted in the past how she's like the mother of all the trans girls and how she loves trans girls too. And while we were sitting in the room and stuff, and she was saying, like, talking to me, she was telling me how attractive she found me and that she wanted to fuck me. I was like, this isn't what we're doing here, but okay. And she kept saying, I can't wait for Dream to leave. You have to stay till after 10 because then I'm going to go crazy on you. It's just after she called the pimp, like who I believe to be a pimp or at least involved in the trafficking, thing they're doing. That's like when I was made a run for it, like shortly after that, because it became extremely clear that I wasn't just there to be her friend. I was being groomed into a trafficking situation. And I don't know if you know anything about trafficking, but I did my research after the fact. Majority of the time, it is a woman who grooms you into it, usually by offering you gifts or nice things or friendship, saying you can stay in their house, that they're going to take care of you, and that like you're friends now, and then they'll like groom you into trafficking. That's how it goes. Like, it's not just you get kidnapped, right, and forced into it. So that's what I believe was happening because they were discussing whether or not I was transgender. They were talking about some woman named Jenny saying if she's not trans, Jenny's going to kill you. And then when I got really scared was when Chyna, I was telling Chyna like, oh, I'm telling my friends I'm still here because Chyna saw me getting nervous and getting scared. And that's when she said to the Donna woman, oh, this is going to go public. We're going to have the SWAT team here any minute. Like, get over here. Dream's leaving at 10. You need to get over here now. And that's when I got really terrified. And that's when I was fully believing myself and my gut instinct that this is trafficking. This is an illegal thing about to happen to me. I need to go now. And that's when I ran.
Did you leave like kind of civilly? Like, were you able to be like, I really have to go? Like, bye. It was so good seeing you. Like, and then left like
no,
that?
I just stood up and I was shaking. Like, my friend Brent called me and my phone was about to die. Like, I don't know how my phone stayed on like 3%. It was like between 3-4% like the entire night, but I turned my brightness all the way down. My phone was on D&D. She would not let me charge it. So I was like, texting my friends here and there saying, I don't think this is good. I don't know what's happening. But my phone at this point is like almost dead, but brand new iPhone, I had a brand new iPhone 13. So I guess the battery did its job. Thank God. But I just ran, and there was a guy who I had not seen before standing down in the kitchen. I was like begging him to open the gate, please open the gate. And like, I didn't include this part in like the TikTok because I was just trying to keep it as concise as possible, just spreading the story for awareness. And he was just looking at me like, what? Like, he was clearly on drugs or something. So that's when I just ran out the door and like went over the gate.
Wow. So after this, I believe you said you spoke to FBI. How did you like kind of like, why did you reach out to authorities, or why did you even pursue that?
Well, I reached out to the FBI trafficking hotline first. Well, I went back to the house I was staying at, and I was talking to the guy that I was staying with. He was like really big on social media back in the day. He used to work with like Ice Poseidon and Sam Pepper and a bunch of YouTubers and Twitch streamers.
Yeah.
He told me that he had been swatted, you know, by police before. He's been talked to authorities over stuff that's gone down with famous people multiple times. So I asked him for advice. He said, just go directly to the FBI. He's like, if you go to LAPD, the story's going to get leaked. You could be in danger. I 100% agreed. I didn't want to talk about it. I was still super scared. So I texted the FBI sex trafficking hotline and I told them everything that happened. They told me that they can't do anything because they're just a hotline. And they directed me to like where I could make the report with the FBI.
So has she like hit you up since, or cease and desisted you, or anything like this?
She did cease and desist me after I spoke about it. And then I had a friend of hers, I guess, because we had a mutual. Her mutual told me that I was going to lose if I kept talking about this. I would lose my blue check mark on Instagram. My Instagram would get deleted. That my TikTok was going to be gone. That like I was going to lose my social media, and like that's why I originally privated the videos for a day, because I had not, you know, gotten any advice yet from like a lawyer or what to do. I have contacts at Meta because I work with Bella Thorne's mom, and I used to be a part of Bella Thorne's agency. And so Bella Thorne's mom had connected me to some people. I just needed to talk to my people before I could keep going, because the story is true. That's why I haven't been sued. Yeah. We know China will sue anyone and everyone, but it's all true. So she couldn't file a lawsuit. I had my lawyer send a letter back, and that was the end of it, because it really happened.
So she hasn't like personally texted you or messaged you or anything like that?
No.
When you were with her, did like during the time we were at her home, did she ever speak about the Kardashians in any way?
Yeah, she did. She said that Rob and Tyga do not pay her child support. And she was like, I'm more broke than you know. And I was like, don't you make $20 million a month off OnlyFans? And I was like, what? She was like, I do this all on my own. But also, like, she doesn't get the kids, you know?
Yeah.
She only gets them once in a while. And she kept insisting that Dream was in the house and Rob was coming to pick up, you know, the child. So she told me that her relationship with Rob, she said she still found Rob really hot, but she never, like, loved him. And she said Rob was a damaged and crazy man and stuff. And she just said she doesn't want to speak about the Kardashians. She doesn't like them. What they did to her in court was completely unfair. And I was like, okay.
You're like, sure. Okay. Cool. Let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit, because I just can't believe that you are like, and correct me if I'm wrong, are you the source? So you're the source of the Jeffree Star Kanye rumor, right?
Yeah, but like that, I didn't even know that Jeffree Star lived in Wyoming. I was just really addicted to TikTok, like at that time in 2021. I was freshly out of COVID. Like I was doing really well on there. And I thought it would be funny to like, you know, back, like I've changed a lot since like 2021, and just like, I'm 24 now, so my prefrontal cortex is developing, and I'm a lot more, I'm a lot more chill. But so I thought, oh my God, like, what can I say on TikTok about like Kanye, like about Kanye and Kim's divorce? And my original thought was James Charles. I just thought it would be funny to like meme like Kanye and James Charles. I had no idea Jeffree lived in Wyoming until I woke up the next day and was trending like number 3 on Twitter. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And that's when Jeffree started playing it up and stuff. So I just like went with it, you know?
It's so crazy how it blew up, and now it's like such a thing. Like almost everyone on social media like has this like idea that there was something there. So you initially like made like the TikTok like thinking in your mind like James Charles and Kanye, but then people took it and like ran with the whole like Jeffree narrative.
Yeah, and people, so I just played it up and I was like, see, I wasn't lying, guys. But like, I was just simply making a joke. But that rumor has affected me so badly, like going
like in
forward.
A bad way?
Yeah. Well, it was good for me financially, and it was good for me building my platform. Absolutely. But now when I come out with stories about like the Blac Chyna thing, or I talk about real things that have happened to me, people are like, you lied about Jeffree and Kanye, shut up. And I was like, yeah, but I admitted it was all fake. I'm like, I let it have its run. I'm like, but I'm not a liar. So I wasn't going to like stick to my guns on that. I was like, guys, this was a joke. And I'm glad we all had fun. But because I did that now, when I tell a very serious story about like Blac Chyna, everyone's just so quick to judge my character and be like, this girl's doing it for clout. And to my defense, I'm like, isn't every single influencer chasing clout? I'm like, they're making content every single day for clout. They collab with other influencers for clout. The Hype House was one big clout house where everyone was just using each other to grow their following. I'm like, I'm just a very honest person. So I'm very honest about how clout is the name of the game and that people can't really handle that. So it kind of backfired on me to do the whole Jeffree Kanye thing.
Have you ever like spoken to Jeffree or had any like connection to him in any way?
No, Jeffree blocked me.
He like eats up that rumor though. Like he and still like brings it up in some ways. So like
I know. And so like to me it's like Jeffree got canceled in 2020 for being racist and all these horrible things. I like revived his career and made people like he was on the Impulsive podcast. People were talking about Jeffree Star again in a way that wasn't you're a racist, horrible, terrible human being. So he owes me one, but
saved his
instead
career.
he goes and talks negatively on podcasts saying this crazy, awful girl did this. I was like, if you were so upset about it, Jeffree, you could have just tweeted it's not true immediately. But instead you were tweeting that you were ready for Sunday service.
Yeah. So he ate it up. So you've like expressed a little bit that because like of some of the things you've done publicly, it has like damaged your credibility. What about the Kris Jenner cease and desist? So that's another like made up, or did you actually get threatened, or what was that?
Well, Kris told TMZ that she was going to send me a real one.
For what?
And then I was friends with Cole Kerrigan at the time, and Cole Kerrigan and like Lila Gibney, they were telling me that they faked cease and desists before and stuff. And I was like, really? And Cole was like, yeah, you can do this. And like Cole helped me make one just for TikTok and stuff. Cause like I was just playing up this story.
Yeah.
And like obviously like look, I was like younger, you know, and I was just like trying to have fun. But like now that I look back on it, I'm like, damn, this really messed up my life a little bit.
So you're not friends with Cole or Lila?
Me and Lila are cool. Me and Cole are cool. We're just not as close as like we used to be.
Yeah, I was gonna have Lila on the podcast, but like the bitch does not text me back. So I'm like, girl, like I don't even know. Like,
yeah, Lila's just kind of all over the place.
I don't even know exactly what I would talk to her about. Like for you, for instance, like there's so much to talk about. But I'm like with Lila, like I'm like, girl, you have to spill something.
I think that Lila lives just a very out of pocket and crazy life, and like she's at the point now where like she's besties with Tana, so she just gets to live like Tana's life with her. So she doesn't have to like go have that big of a crazy social media presence. I think it all happens to her in private.
Yeah. I love to see it though. That's like with you as well. You guys like just live very freely. You like are, you know, if you have an opportunity, you're going to go take it.
Lila, I also think too, the reason why she doesn't go post it on social media and talk about it is because she's super caught up in that LA scene. So if she outs a rapper for hooking up with her and talks about it, she will never get invited to one of those parties again.
Yeah.
You know, me and like people, she's very close with all of those people. So she has to keep it kind of low key because if she really comes out and talks about it, she's very deeply involved in that scene. People will have a problem. Me, I'm not, so I can't.
Yeah,
you know?
So you're over here in Jersey. You're like, I'm safe here. There's like nobody over here.
Yeah, I can do whatever I want. You know?
I'm from Virginia, so it's not far from Jersey. So yeah. I know that.
It's like, I'm safe. So if someone does something to me, I can go on TikTok and tell it. But then people don't believe me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't get why. Because I'm like, you know, like people, you can go see who follows me. You can go see who I know and who I'm friends with and stuff like that. And like, I am a menace on social media, 100%. Like I sound like the biggest piece of shit ever on TikTok, but I'm like a really cool, nice person. So people like hanging out with me. So these things do happen.
Yeah. So your social media career, at least from like my perspective and what I've looked online, it really kind of started with Dr. Phil. I actually just posted a video like 2 days ago about him, how, you know, he's exploited so many of his guests, how he's a terrible person in general. And you went on.
Good for you for doing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love like exposing those people like Ellen, Oprah, all of them, because it's like, especially moving out here in Hollywood, I've realized like how everyone is just so corrupt. The ego, like what you're talking about before we filmed, like everyone's got one. So when you went on there in 2019, you went to discuss like your social media addiction and everything. How did you pursue them? Did they pursue you? How did that first start?
Well, I was tripping on acid, and we were watching Dr. Phil clips, like me and my friend, and my friend was like, "Yo, I didn't know you went on Dr. Phil." And there was some girl who was kind of like acting like me, who like reminded him of me.
It's not
And I
Jessie
was like,
Taylor, right?
no, not Jessie
Okay.
Taylor. That girl needs some help. But it was like some girl who like reminded him of me, and I was like, you know what, I should just go on. So I like was just tripping, and I emailed them, and like the original story I sent them, because me and my best friend, since like we were 12, like stopped being friends, and I wanted to go fight my ex-best friend on there, but then my ex-best friend wouldn't come on, so I had to come up with a new story. So they were like, is there anything else that you could give us?
Yeah.
So I said, oh, I'll just say I'm addicted to Instagram. And I got these two girls who I had just met at a party to come on with me. I'm like, let's just go, free trip to LA. Who knows what could happen? It'll be fun. And then it like did well, you know?
Yeah, it did really well. And do you think like, as your experience on the show, like, I mean, obviously your story was kind of like, it wasn't necessarily a big problem. Yeah, kind of fake. But like, did they ever seem like they were trying to help you in any way, like producers?
No,
or trying to help
but you know what's crazy is the second time I went on there, they wanted to give me a redemption arc, though I wasn't redeemed at that point. Like, obviously, I've changed a lot since like when I went on Dr. Phil. I was 20 and I was in college, and I was just like playing up a persona. But then they wanted to have me back on to do a redemption arc. And talk about like deeply personal stuff and talk about my sexual assault and things. And they totally were just exploiting that for the show. They didn't like want to get into what I had to say about
and was
it or
that
anything.
behind the scenes, or was that like, did they film your?
No,
talking
behind
about
the scenes, they were like fine and like really encouraging about everything. And like, I didn't want to come talk about my sexual assault, but they were the ones who pushed me to, because when you fill out the Dr. Phil forms, you have to like say if something bad like that happened to you beforehand. So they knew about it, and they were like, please talk about this. But I wasn't ready to talk about it, but they said, you're going to help a lot of people by talking about it. Talk about it. We're going to share whatever you want about it on this show. I said, okay, cool. Like, and what we filmed, and I was on with Jessie Taylor. So the show was mostly about Jessie Taylor, but they told me that like, they made me feel, they manipulated me into talking about something super traumatic. And like, if you watch how I look in that episode in comparison to the first one, you could see I wasn't mentally doing well. Like I was still, what the worst part about it was I was still drunk when I woke up in the morning, because I went to a party at the FaZe house the night before. So I was still drunk when I got to the studio. They knew this, and they were just forcing me to chug water backstage. I looked a mess. I mentally wasn't in the best spot. I was really stressed out and upset that I had to go talk about being sexually assaulted on national TV. They didn't care. They just kind of threw me out there and had me sit down. And then when they edited the episode and stuff, they didn't do what they said they were going to do. And I was super upset about it and super angry. But there was really nothing I could do, you know?
Yeah.
And I ended up going back on a third time, and I had my issues with doing that, especially after what they did to me the first time. But they were telling me like, hey, listen, Dr. Phil loves you. You get him a lot of views. Just come on and do it. It'll be over Zoom. Like, this is not going to be like last time. So then I went and I did it. But Dr. Phil totally exploits everyone. The
Is he like an
storylines are very...
asshole, or how is he personally? Like talking to him, like is he like a friendly, like fatherly figure acting, or did you ever talk to him behind the scenes, or like
behind the scenes? He was sweet. Like he was a dick to me on camera. Off camera, he was not. He would just shake my hand and say thank you for participating in my little show, kind of thing. When we did the Zoom episode during COVID, same kind of thing. Him smiling, saying thanks so much, Ava, whatever. But like he knows. It is just exploiting people with, like, issues. My issues, like, when I actually did have a real problem, it got swept under the rug. But my whole fake social media story, that one, like, I gave them a story, and then the producers kind of, like, tell you what to say. But that's the case with any, like, show like that, is they're trying to make a narrative. They'll take what they'll tell you a sentence and you can put your own flair on it kind of thing. So it is a very overly produced TV show. It's not really real. But what's interesting to me is how when Bad Baby talked about going to the ranch and like the abuse that happened to her there, that kind of got swept under the rug.
Yeah.
Really hard. And like, I think he's just like a very old school person who likes, he doesn't give therapy on his show. He is mean and tough love and stuff, but like he doesn't realize that that's more damaging than good. And that the troubled teens he has on his TV show are troubled teens because their parents treat them very much like how Dr. Phil treats them. And trying to bully and shame a troubled teen into submission does not work, you know? They're troubled teens because they're crying out for help because their parents aren't doing their job.
100%.
And yeah, he doesn't have that type of understanding, and his show very much like follows old school beliefs about mental health, and I don't really like it. Like, I would never go back on.
Yeah.
You know?
So you did mention the last time you went on was during like the height of COVID. So you did it over Zoom, and that you went on after you did the viral toilet liquor seat thing. So let's talk briefly about that, because I feel like, is that like maybe your most viral moment? Like, is that when like people look?
I think it was because it crossed into like politics. It crossed into like that was really global.
Public safety.
Yeah. But like I was really in a bad spot at that point in my life. Like that was actually Joe Schultz's idea, my ex-boyfriend that we had discussed off camera.
Yeah.
He's now a TikToker. But
were you guys on the plane together, or where were you flying?
No, I wasn't with Joe. I was flying down to Miami with my friend Ethan. May he rest in peace. But Ethan and Joe were I like got inspired to do that. Well, I wasn't going to lick a toilet. That was Joe's idea, 100%. He was like, I feel like it won't break the internet unless you lick a toilet. So I full sent it. Yeah. But I was just like, when I did that, I was still in college. I had like a very abusive boyfriend. I have very abusive parents. Like, I was just trying to, and like my college experience was so horrible to me, and like the trauma I experienced there, I was just trying to get enough attention online to get the hell out and not have to go back home. So that's why I did it. And what I think it's good, like people will sit there and shame me, like, you looked at toilet for attention, you'll do anything for attention. And I was like, at that point in my life, I absolutely would have done anything for attention because I needed an out from my very traumatizing like life. And I got it because I licked the toilet and my song went viral and I established myself more. And now, if you haven't noticed, you don't see me like licking toilet seats on airplanes and stuff anymore. Like, my content has changed so much and the scandals I'm involved in are so different. And it bothers me a lot seeing that like people will just judge me based off of like those incidences, like those scandals, like, oh, she licked a toilet, how could we ever trust her? And I'm like, but you, like, no one ever wants to look at someone online and understand why they did what they did. It's kind of like Kim making a sex tape. Like, she had to do something, you know? And we don't know why. We don't know what her motivations were for that.
Well, we kind of do. I mean, I know that we at least know that Kim and like Chris like coordinated it all and sold it and did all that. And I think that's like, sometimes people look at Kim and they're like, that was reckless that you had this sex tape and everything. And they look at you and they're like, it was reckless, you're licking this toilet and everything. But I think I've like seen so much in social media that I'm like, this is so calculated. Like you it's not like you are over here, like the camera just happened to be on while you're, you know, casually licking a toilet seat like normal. Like you purposely, I think even at one point you share that you wiped the toilet or something before you even did it.
Yeah, I cleaned it with bleach for like half an hour because I did not want to do it. I was so embarrassed about it. Like, I didn't want to. And then Ethan took my phone and tweeted it and took my phone and put it in his backpack and said, you are not going to look at this because it's going to make you very unhappy. Like, I didn't want to, but I felt like I had to because I had such a fucked up childhood growing up that I couldn't function properly. Like, it was hard for me to get college done. I did get college done, but like having a real job that didn't involve social media, I didn't see that being possible for me. And I know that sounds probably like very like weird, but I was just a very traumatized 21-year-old trying to make it out. And now it has defined me forever on the
Yeah.
internet. Probably not, but
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's something that like is part of your story, but I don't like even like nowadays I wouldn't, define you by that. I mean, I guess also because I've kept up with all that you've been through, and you went on to the Dr. Phil show again for that. I saw some quote that you wanted to cough on Dr. Phil. Did you say that to him or who?
Yeah, I did because like they told me to just act out of
Yeah.
pocket, and I was just drunk, like in quarantine, just drinking a bunch
Yeah.
of White Claws. Like, okay, sure, and
No.
I just acted crazy.
It's so
I
funny.
was like, whatever you want.
Have you had COVID?
Yeah, a bunch of times.
I've had it like 3 times this year. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I don't.
It doesn't go away. But it is what it is. I never like got super sick from it or anything, but like I've been COVID positive plenty of times.
So that was your last time going on Dr. Phil, at least for now. You feel like it is?
Yeah, I would never go back on that show. Also, that show, you don't get clout off of it like you used to,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely like it's changed, and there was like an era where like what you were doing on TV on Dr. Phil and stuff like that was very much like part of that time.
Well,
Like,
Nicolette Gray did the exact same thing I did. Her story wasn't as real as it seemed. She was drunk before she went on there, apparently, according to her friend. I'm friends with Nicolette. Like, me and Nicolette never really discussed it personally. Me and Nicolette just knew each other through Ethan. But yeah, I don't know. Like, she kind of just wanted to start a career in social media. And at the time, Dr. Phil was a really good way to do that. And she had a very successful YouTuber career. So I was just kind of following in their footsteps when I did that,
So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about, are you fine talking about Antonio Brown?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
He's like this, he's someone who actually, so I was watching your No Jumper interview, and he was like one of the people you list that like were in your DMs like at that point. And I don't think you had met him at this point. So he was in your DMs for years. And just so you guys know, Antonio Brown is a former football player for the Buccaneers. So that's how he's...
He used to be a really, really, really good football player too.
Yeah, so you were like kind of casually talking, and were you like always kind of flirty? Like he found you on Instagram or something, like thought you were a baddie, and then like, you guys chatted on there?
Yeah, that's kind of how it went. But like the thing is I wasn't even a baddie back then. It was all faced. And like you could tell by looking at my Joe Jumper interview, like how I actually looked. I looked like shit. I'm being too hard on myself. But I wasn't like an instant baddie at the time. I just faked it. You got to fake it till you make it, and can afford surgery. But, and so he was like DMing me or whatever. And like, he was just one of many celebrities, that I like, cause I had like 25,000 on Insta at that point. So me and Antonio were just in contact for like years. And he randomly called me on the day that we hooked up on New Year's and was like, come to my hotel. And he was 5 minutes away from my apartment. So I was like, I guess I kind of have to go. But I was debating with myself whether or not I should go the whole time. And then my friends were like, you never know what could happen if you do. Just do it. And I did.
Yeah, all your friends are like, go do this, go do that. And you're like, oh, shit. So you go there, and at this point, I guess there was something I read online about like COVID protocols for the hotel room. Like, so how did you get to his hotel room?
He told me to come up. He should have had to get me. But there was a group of people already going in the elevator. So they scanned their card and I was able to hit my floor. I just walked past the security guard. He did not care because everyone knows that like COVID protocols were broken all the time during COVID because these NFL players are horny and they have a bunch of girls coming over all the time. So the security guard just laughed. He like could care less I was there.
So at this point, before you went over, he was sending you some voice notes. Maybe he seemed a little bit drunk-ish. When you went into the hotel room, was he drunk? Was he on drugs?
No, I know what he was. He just sounded weird. Like he sounded messed up, like on the voice memos, he seemed so off. And I was like, is he, but I don't think he was on drugs. I just think he's crazy, And like, I felt like I do have guilt about like that situation and exploiting it in the news. And I wasn't sure I wanted to. And it was like hard for me to do because like he does clearly have issues. And like, I don't necessarily feel good about myself for, exploiting like a mentally ill, like Black man like that. But that's really
it's powerful that you recognize that it's wrong. That's like really.
Yeah. And that was a scandal that also made me look really bad and make me look like a huge slut, and I'm really not in real life, but I I just sacrifice so much of my moral code to have a scandal like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's like what goes down in the social media universe. And it's like there's so much pressure on you to keep it up, especially when your career is built like mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Julia Fox with Kanye, like she doesn't feel good about dating him and she makes that very clear, but
Yeah.
she had to get a little bit more of a leg up.
Yeah.
And it worked for her. And it's like if you look at all kinds of PR relationships that are happening in Hollywood and like associations and things like that, like to grow and to gain your notoriety, you really have to do things like that. And like that's what's unfortunate about it. And you live in LA, so I'm sure you see it all the time.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks. Yeah.
It is all still new to me, but it's like I'm taken back sometimes with how it's surprising it is. So when you walked into that room with Antonio, did you guys hang out for a couple hours before you hooked up? Or
No, literally, he was just playing his football like highlights. And then he was like, okay, I don't even think I don't know what, he just pulled out his dick. And I was like, okay. And then he's like offered to film it
did he film
on
it?
my phone.
Did he film it?
Yeah, on my phone.
Did you do anything with it? You just have the video?
Yeah,
You never like OnlyFans it or anything, right?
I did.
Yeah, you did. Did you make like
Yeah.
decent off of it? Like, did you...
$125,000.
Oh my god! Wait, is your mom still paying your rent?
No, I pay my own rent. I make,
It-
I have because what I have is I have an OnlyFans agency.
Mhm.
Because I got very exploited by a bunch of OnlyFans agencies.
Oh, there's so many.
Like, yeah, you know how they are very bad. So I
Mhm.
started my own where I take like a lower percentage from the people and actually make them more money because I wanted to do this for my friends and just people. So I make money off of my agency and then I do still have an OnlyFans. So I make a lot of money.
Yeah,
I'm fine. Like,
that's,
and I'm also getting a TV show. It's like in the works.
oh my gosh, that would be so
Monty
good.
Lopez is going to be on it too.
Oh, yeah, so it's gonna be messy, messy with
and
Monty.
so it's going to be so that's happening right now. They're having meetings with networks. So hopefully it gets picked up. If the network buys it, hopefully it all works out.
That'd be fun.
And I think it'll be fun. So like I'm set and solid. No one pays my rent. No one does anything for me. Right?
So just to wrap up the Antonio Brown. So after that situation, like there's something that happened, and you'll be able to clarify. But like, didn't he like go and quit his career like after you
The
hook
next
up?
day- yeah, but that's the only reason why I was able to turn it into a story is because he literally the day after ran off the field.
And do you think he was like like when you saw him, and then that following day, do you think he was like having a mental health like crisis at this point?
I
Like,
don't know. I think that, I don't know anything about his mental health. It's not
Mhm.
really discussed publicly. I think he's on his Kanye time.
and have you spoken since? Did he ever like reach out to you? He was like, "Fuck you, bitch," and like for
He did tell
talking
me
about-
off. And then I was with one of his friends in LA recently, and I FaceTimed Antonio off my phone, and he answered and talked to me. And I was like, "Oh, so we're cool." But he did not realize it was me, I guess.
Oh.
And then I gave his number to like one of my friends, like one of the OnlyFans girls I manage, and I was like, "Oh, go talk to Antonio." And then Antonio, I guess, figured out that it was me who he had been talking to again. Like I was just talking to him for like jokes, like it wasn't anything.
Yeah.
And then he told me off, the other day,
And that
like
was-
a week or two ago.
Oh, really? Okay, so that
Yeah.
chapter is now closed.
Closed forever. Yeah, he hates me.
Yeah. So, one thing I saw with the No Jumper, I mentioned that earlier. Do you have issues with Bad Baby still, like Danielle Bergoli? Like,
No, I don't speak to her. I
like, who
I
cares,
was
right?
Just, back when I went on No Jumper, like if you can tell when you watch the interview, I was super nervous. Like that was
Mhm.
my first time ever doing anything like that. So I was just coming up with anything. In like I was, I like started that. I was just trying.
Yeah, you had your
to-
character. You were like the character was on. You were giving all the one-liners, like
Yeah,
exactly.
that's kind of like what I was going for. But I was just like new to the game, so I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. So music has been part of your career because you had the Skinny Legend song. How's it go? That costs more than your rent. I can't
Yeah.
remember right now. I'm skinny. I'm winning.
I never expected that to blow up. I made that song because I had just gotten beaten up by like this chick who's like a coke addict bitch.
Yeah.
And I had a broken nose and a concussion, and I was doing a lot of drugs and getting super drunk at the time. And I made that song to try and keep the cloud up off after Dr. Phil because I was like, I don't want to be a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
And then I got really lucky when it blew up on TikTok. So I made money, you know?
Yeah. And it like, and how was it like the music video? I saw your, like, do you still have your pet, like, lizard?
No, that died.
Oh, it died. Rest in peace. But how was like the process of like making that song and the music video? Did you enjoy that?
I don't remember.
I was gonna
Like,
say you
that
haven't done much since. Like you did the Puff Bar song.
Puff Bar Pussy song, but like music isn't my thing. I'm not talented. Like I had a manager who was like telling me like, oh, well, you could keep doing music. Like maybe like it's just I'm too mature for that now. Does that make sense?
Well, there's also
Like,
not a lot of money into it. Like when you start looking at like OnlyFans, YouTube, things like that, it's like music really like it's a lot of work for like, you know, not a lot of payoff unless it just goes viral.
yeah, and so it's like I can probably make another viral song again. But yeah, I just don't have it in me. Like this is a struggle I'm having in my career right now. And that's why I'm so happy I'm getting more legitimate opportunity. Where I'm just like, oh, do I really want to make something that embarrasses myself again? Because I'm just like in a better place. I'm older. I'm not drunk all the time and a college kid. So now I'm just like, I don't want to make something stupid. Like, I'm like, I would rather just go viral on TikTok for the story times about when I was a mess instead of forcing myself to be a mess right now, you know?
Yeah.
So music kind of like out of the question. I'm not talented enough to make something that's not gimmicky and messy.
Yeah.
So just kind of like letting it be. Maybe one day I'll make a song again. Who the hell knows? But
yeah, you need someone who's like really motivated to like help you and to like guide you and just like, you know, that's what I would need, like someone to like do all the work because like how do you even like, you know, mix a song and all that? It sounds like just
I had people do it for me.
Yeah.
Like I had people doing it for me. But yeah, I just don't like I have an inspiration for what could be a decent song and stuff on TikTok. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not trying to be a musician. There's no money in it. I don't see a point. And like the thing is too, is it's like if you haven't noticed, like I got a lot of clout and like fame and notoriety off of that song. Like that song, because back in the day, back in 2020, when you would make a song on TikTok that went viral, everyone would be talking about you. Not the case anymore. We hear a song go viral, we'll stream it, but we don't like obsess over the person who made it.
Yeah, we don't even know who made it a lot of the times. Like, where did the song even come from? You know, for sure.
So it wouldn't do anything for me, you know? I don't want to get signed to a record label and be a musician.
Yeah.
So there's no point. TikTok's changed a lot too. Like you use like people, I feel like we get so tired of creators now on TikTok. It used to be like someone would get TikTok famous and we would be obsessed with them for at least 6 months to a year. And now like for instance, that period girl.
Yeah.
We talked about her for like 3 weeks. Even Young Gravy, we talked about him for like 3 weeks to a month and a half, maybe. And they just fall off. Now we don't care anymore because our attention spans are so short and the bubble has gotten so big on TikTok of people trying to be influencers that it's just harder to do what I used to do.
For sure. It's so oversaturated too on TikTok. It's like anyone could be an influencer now on TikTok, even if they get a lot. I've seen some people out here in Hollywood that have like hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok and then they have like no views on their like actual videos. It's like a really weird
and you
app.
don't even know who they are. Like you do not know who they are. And like I met this girl when I went to I was hanging out with Monty Lopez, like, and he introduced me to this girl and she was asking me what I do. I'm like, or what I've done, etc. I was like, are you on TikTok? And she was like, no, not really. And I was like, okay, then you probably won't know. And then I come to find out this girl had 8 million followers and was just like super insulted that I didn't know who she was. And I was like,
Ew.
did you people have 8 million on TikTok now? It's like, not that hard. Like I'll hit 1 million. The only reason I'm not at a couple million on TikTok is because my TikTok account was deleted for like a year and a half, 2 years. And I just paid to get it back.
Really?
So, yeah. So, like, otherwise, I think I would have had a much higher follower count on there than I do now. But it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Like, you can't make that much money off of it, nor does it make you a celebrity. Like, back in 2016, if you had 1 million followers, everyone knew who you were. Not anymore. There's 15,000 people who have over 1 million followers now. So it just doesn't mean anything, you know?
Not the same. I have to say, like, I think you're very like. So there's something about you that I think is interesting because some would look at you and see that you're confident, and I think you are confident in some ways. But I feel like you need to be more confident. Like, you are so beautiful, and I know you've gotten like work done and things like that. But even back then, like on the No Jumper and stuff, you've always been like really cute, really beautiful. But but I feel like there's something like
person. I'm just real because like, and I think that's another reason why other influencers don't really like me is like off camera we were having a discussion about how my ex-boyfriend's an influencer now. It takes a lot of narcissism to be a really successful one. At least what I've noticed over the past couple of years. I don't want to gas. Like, I don't think I'm a celebrity. I don't think I'm famous. Like, when you said I've been keeping up with you for years, I'm like, really? Because I live such a normal life, like in New Jersey, with my best friend who is not famous and like my 3 cats. And I don't live a celebrity lifestyle or do anything. So I'm always just surprised. Like, I'm very humble and I can't stand influencers who will just act so important. I'm like, having a check mark on Instagram does not make you more important than the person who doesn't. I'm like, and they only want to talk to people if they can gain something from them. And they never, you know, if you're just a nobody, they don't want to be your friend. It's very weird. And like, to me, I would just rather be like, yeah, you know what? I'm not like the hottest person in the world or whatever. I don't think I'm hot shit because it's like, I would rather just be a real human being. It's not that I'm not, it's just I'm normal.
Yeah, and people find that relatable. I think that's something that like makes me like, you know, it makes people want to get to know you better because they don't feel like threatened or dismissed by someone who like is humble or recognizes their faults. When it comes to like plastic surgery, are you open with like what you've done? Like, I know
I've done everything. I got a boob job, but I'm not happy with my boob job. I really want to get smaller implants and a lift because my surgeon didn't really, that was my first major surgery, was a boob job. And then after I got the boob job, I mean, I was happy with it at the time. Now I'm probably going to get a revision soon, but then I got a nose job because I realized I wasn't scared of anesthesia and it doesn't hurt that bad. So then I got a nose job, and I got a BBL. And so I'm very open and honest about that. Like, to look like all the girls that you see online, you have to get surgery. You have to get fillers. I dissolved a lot of my fillers because fillers actually look really bad after a while. I just have Botox, but you have to have hair extensions, lash extensions. Like, these influencer girls are doing lymphatic massages every day. Like, you cannot look like what you see on Instagram or really have a super successful career in it unless you, especially if you're an influencer doing OnlyFans, it's super important too to like look hot. So it was just something I had to do. And like, I'm happy I did it. I'm like very happy with myself now. But I think people don't understand like the influencers they see and stuff like that. Like, you really have to, it's put in a lot of work and spend a lot of money to look like them. And that's what makes me super sad, like seeing people comparing themselves to these girls. And like, I always tell people never to compare themselves to me. I'm like, we'll always show pictures of what I looked like before. I'm like, this isn't real. This cost me like $60,000.
Yeah. And did you pay for your surgeries, or do you have someone?
Yeah, my mom paid for my nose job, but I like, she only paid for it because she was really scared that I was going to go to someone bad, and it was like my face. So she was like, I'm only going to support this if you let me pick. And I'm like, if you're going to pick, you have to pay. Because, But then I paid for my BBL. That was $15,000. My boobs were only 6, but it's going to be like 12 or 15 to fix them.
Yeah. When'd you get your nose done? When'd you get your nose done?
I got my nose done in 2020.
Okay, so not like not long ago.
No, yeah, but that surgery, like what people don't tell you too is with plastic surgery, it takes you a couple of years to actually bounce back. I don't know how the Kardashians have done all this stuff and hid it from the world. Because like there's certain interviews and stuff I've done like right after my BBL where I look horrifying. Like, my looks have changed so much throughout the years, and there are so many times where people will put like an Insta versus reality pic of me up somewhere, whatever, and I'm like, what you don't get is I had just had a surgery there, and I had a moon face from getting a nose job. And I've just been like super open about the journey of what it is, because plastic surgery is really rough on you. And at the end of the day, the body dysmorphia never goes away, and you always feel like there's something more. Like, you'll fix something. You think, like, when I fixed my ass and I got a BBL, I said, okay, I'm gonna be so happy with my body now. I'm gonna have such a tiny waist. And then I looked in the mirror and all the whatever fat was there. Turns out there wasn't even that much. And then I'm like, oh wait, I kind of have a wide rib cage now and broad shoulders. And it's like, it's probably not even worth it to
Yeah.
do, especially if you don't have the money to do it. Like saying my life's gonna get so much better once I fix myself. Like, no.
You'll find
Probably,
something else after.
yeah, save your money, and
Yeah,
just be happy.
I got my nose done like I think it'll be 10 years in December. I got it done like right in high school, like because I had a huge nose and like I told my parents I won't go to college because I just was bullied all the time and everything. And it took like a good like 2 years for the tip to like fully heal and like to
Yeah,
get smaller. But
people don't understand that. Like, it's like like the BBL. I'm still not healed from my BBL. I have bruises like
yeah,
on my sides, and my stomach isn't perfectly smooth yet. Like, it takes about 2 years after every major plastic surgery for you to look normal. So I am shocked that the Kardashians and like other celebrities and stuff get this done and
yeah,
somehow manage to make public appearances.
right, to keep
Yeah.
working and everything.
Yeah.
So I do want to, before we close up, I do want to briefly talk a little bit about Ethan because, like I said, I've been following you for some time, and that's actually, I think I found you through Ethan. Like I followed him somehow, and that's how
Yeah.
I saw you guys were best friends, and I
Well,
followed
I
you too.
on his death. Like, that's when I first heard of you because I
Oh,
was
I,
obsessed with watching
girl,
all.
that was that. I was hoping you've never seen that video. I was hoping you haven't because that was not like my best work. That was like way early on my YouTube career, and I also like I did not like the reaction to that video because I wasn't like I didn't think I was necessarily being hateful. I do feel like I made like one comment about his mom or something I wish I didn't do.
Yeah, like she saw that and she was very upset about it. I remember like
I feel
that
bad
moment.
about that. I apologize to her and his family because like it was like
Yeah.
I like went in there and I was a little bit critical, but I didn't realize how nasty
So
people
most
were.
people start off in their social media, YouTube careers and stuff like that because that does get views and attention. So like I'm very understanding about that, you
And it
know?
was like, but even at that point too, like that was like another channel. I wasn't even really like doing YouTube or focused on it at that time. I just like saw the tweet and I followed them for a long time, followed him and you, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna like make a video about this. And I did say something like snide about the mom or at some point, and I do actually apologize to her if it ever gets to her. Like I feel bad about that. The video's been down for like years now, or like two. I don't know how long it was, but I feel like it's been a long time. That channel's been wiped out for a while, but I made that video, and if you guys don't know who Ethan is Supreme was his name on social media, correct? So he was a influencer. He did some merch. I remember at some point he was like doing really well at that, and super creative. I loved his hair and everything. So you guys were best friends. How did you start your friendship?
He saw a clip of me on Dr. Phil, and thought it was really funny because when someone posted it, it went viral on Twitter. And he messaged me, and we started talking on Instagram, and then we started FaceTiming every day. I didn't know Ethan's age. Like the way Ethan like spoke and talked, like he seemed like he was 20. And I think we met when I was like 20 or 21. Like I was, older than him and he was only 16. I had no idea, and I literally didn't find out how old my best friend was until I was like 22. And then it was his birthday and I was like, "Oh, how old are you turning?" He's like 17. I was like, "What?" Like I didn't know how old he was. And I also get a lot of criticism online for being friends with a minor and stuff. That's currently happening right now because I discussed like the reason for his death on my TikTok. There's another big creator who really caused this cancel culture that he received, and like drove him into drugs.
Who was
but like
it?
do you know who the McLeod family is? Is that how you say it?
I don't know
It's
them.
McLeod family. And like
They-
I'm currently fighting with her right
They were
now.
because they were like calling you out for being friends with a minor, or
No, because I saw what happened with Nikita Dragon. Obviously, like Ethan wasn't the most perfect influencer, and he said and did a lot of dumb things. But he made a video about Disney moms, about like this woman, and he did do drugs, but like not Percocet, not downers. He would just do some Molly, and I was in college and I did that too. Like he wasn't doing anything that was going to kill him, but then this McLeod family channel, Ethan had made a TikTok right before his death where he was discussing Disney moms, saying like, "Oh, someone call CPS on like Disney moms. Like, what if the kids just want to go play with monster trucks and like watch like Marvel movies, not Disney?" Like he was making a joke that was like not very tasteful and was kind of
Mm-hmm.
rude, but he was a 17-year-old kid who had mental health issues because being on the internet when you're so young and growing
Mm-hmm.
up being an influencer, that's very difficult. Like he was not accepted in Texas. He got kicked out of his Catholic school at 17. I mean, we got kicked out of his Catholic school at like 12, and you had to be homeschooled in Texas because he was a gay beauty influencer. Like he had
Mm-hmm.
been through a lot. And what I don't like about the internet, and especially about what happened with his death, is like there was such a lack of empathy and understanding.
It was so
And like
bad. The
he got
comments on my
bullied.
video were like, "We're smoking They all said they were smoking the pack or something. Like, do you know what that saying
Yeah.
is? They're like, "We're smoking the Ethan pack tonight," which I don't even know what they were talking about. But it was so hateful. Which I also reckon. I like that you said like he said dumb things. Like he's not a perfect person, but at the end of the day, it's like a kid
He
who
died.
like
A kid
fucking
died.
died. Like, and he's
No
got
one,
parents.
yeah, and no one cared. Like no one could see that. And like so I after seeing what happened with Nikita Dragon, when she got arrested, the way
Mm-hmm.
people were talking about her on the internet was disgusting. And I was like, can you guys not understand that this is a woman who came forward and discussed having bipolar disorder? And I'm like, do you know what could happen with
Mm-hmm.
bipolar disorder? Suicide,
Yeah.
death. And so I made a video about cancel culture, and I was discussing how this like McLeod family, this woman literally encouraged her fans, like her making a video about him saying what he said about Disney moms. Like she was the one he used in his example, and her like he used her as an example for Disney moms.
Mm-hmm.
What he said was not very nice, but she could have left it at, hey, this wasn't okay. You should apologize. And that's it. But she encouraged her fans to email all of his brands and sponsors. And she really made it his mission to destroy his life. And the reason why Ethan died is because cancel culture drove him into such a deep depression where he turned to really hard drugs like
Mm-hmm.
Percocet. And he eventually overdosed because he couldn't handle having his whole career getting ripped away and being tormented online, and like his nudes would get leaked all the time, his parents' address, like the things that happened to Ethan were very horrible. And not that Ethan said and did everything correctly, but he was a 17-year-old,
Yeah.
a minor. um think about what probably like you and I have said at 17.
Oh, I can't
And we,
imagine. Like, I.
and so we really lack empathy in
Mm-hmm.
this, in our internet space. Like you don't want them to have a platform anymore. That's fine. Stop, unfollow, and stop watching their videos.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need to harass and bully. And like even after his death, like you had the comments on your videos where they still continue to cyberbully.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And so I was having this discussion about it on TikTok the other day, and people are still coming after me saying Ethan was a racist, Ethan was a horrible person. I'm like, well, I knew him in real life, and he attention sought, like was seeking attention on social
Mm-hmm.
media, and he did it in the wrong way a lot of times. But as a person in real life, he was a great friend and a great kid. And I was
Yeah.
like, he would never hurt anyone in real life or make anyone feel upset. And he was one of the nicest people I've ever met. And I'm like, he made some mistakes, but like that's kind of what social media is doing to people now, you know?
Yeah, and it's so sad. Like, it just like talking about death and everything. It's just so real. And when it came to his overdose, do you know like, so you mentioned the perks and stuff, but like, was it like something like a fentanyl like thing, or was it like a perk that was laced with like some fentanyl shit, and then that's what?
It was two perks laced with fentanyl, and he had snorted them. And when you snort them, your body absorbs it way faster. But like, and people always like, I feel very guilty because I was an older, influence. But I've never done Percocet.
Yeah.
I've never done like that in my life. I just did Coke and Molly in college. Like that was me. And I felt bad. He said to me 2 weeks before he died, he was like, because he was with me on my birthday, he said, "You did a bunch of drugs when you were younger, and you're fine now." And I said, "Well, yeah, but I didn't do anything crazy, you know." And so I feel like I carry a lot of guilt of like being a bad influence because of the way I lived my life, before he died. And he probably felt like, oh, I look up to Ava. It was like my older sister. And so it's hard for me to deal with that. But then he turned to Percocet, and all because he got canceled by this creator,
Family Channel.
by
Like,
the Family Channel. He got canceled by the Family Channel, and that's when he immediately turned to Percocet. And he was with me on my birthday, like around that time. He was eating Xanax in the bathroom at my birthday dinner, and I had to carry him home and like put him in my bed. And I went through his wallet and I flushed all of his drugs. And I like texted his mom and I was like, listen, we have a big problem here. I'm like, this is getting out of hand. And like me and my friend John sat down with him 2 weeks before he died, and we had like an intervention and are like, you are going to die if you keep doing this. But he was just so upset by what happened with the family channel that
Yeah.
he couldn't stop, because when he wasn't high on a Percocet, um, he was literally sitting there scrolling through the comments all day. So, and the only way and like that he could take that pain away was drugs, and it's just really really crazy.
That's so, it like makes me want to cry thinking about it, because it sounds like, especially like thinking about my own social media career, like I have gone to college, I had 3 years in the government. I've had a whole like, life before this. If I was his age doing it at 16 and I have gotten some of the comments I've gotten and shit like that, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. Like, I
Yeah,
don't.
because I also went to college, and
You learn a lot
I
about yourself there, and you like figure out who
yeah.
you are and what you stand for. And when you're like a teen like him, like you're still figuring that out. And like you don't.
Honestly, I came from a very racist white rich town, and as I went to Rutgers University, which is very diverse. You know how many of my views changed? Like I was just being like I was like brainwashed by a very conservative town. Like as a 17-year-old, I get to college and I start dating like a Spanish guy, and I start meeting all kinds of people, and I look at I got introduced to diversity and just a different life, and I was like, wow, like what an interest. Like my town was so Republican and stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how could it like how people who never leave there will never understand that their views are so wrong,
Yeah.
you know?
So jaded and stuff.
Ever got to leave like Texas, you know? So when he said and did things on the internet that were like really messed up, not to excuse that, because he was just a kid. And he
Yeah.
like didn't know like the real world effects and stuff, nor did he ever see other people besides like a bunch of white Texas people. So he
Yeah.
never got to go to college like we did and like have the experience and learn about like the world.
Yeah.
So it really hurts to see what happened. And like on social media, like when you're a teenager on social media, I don't know how like the D'Amelios and all the big TikTokers did it without like making a mistake. They must have a crazy great PR team, but their
Yeah.
parents have a lot of money, to keep them in line and do that for them. Ethan wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So, and think about what we'll see on TikTok now with like a bunch of teenagers. They say and do the wrong thing all the time. It's
Where were
crazy.
you when you found out about his passing?
I was in my room, and that guy Shulk that I was dating was like in my room, and I was like really annoyed with him because he showed up really drunk. But then I got a text from his friend Christian. His mom hadn't even told me yet. His friend Christian found out before me. And he said, hey, it's Ethan's friend Christian. Like, I'm here for you too. And I said, what happened? Like, what are you talking about? And he told me he overdosed. And I said, well, is he in the hospital or did he die? And like, I found out he died from a text from his friend.
That sounds like horrible.
Yeah. And it was just like, I was scream crying and like trying to rip the door off my fridge. And just like, I ended up like shoving Joe out of my bed because he was drunk, yelling at me, like, why are you acting like such a crazy bitch? I'm like, my best friend's dead. And like, I ended up going to my ex-boyfriend's house after that and just like not leaving his bed for like 4 days. But it was really hard to deal with too, because his parents couldn't handle the media attention around his death. And that and like me and Ethan made a pact too before, if either of us ever died, he's like, you handle all the PR for it. And so I had to do that,
Yeah.
and I had to just put out whatever his parents felt comfortable with me saying and stuff. So like I was in the process of grieving my friend while also having to do interviews with CBS and stuff. So it was just a really crazy hard time. Yeah.
Well, God bless that you were there, and I think that like you were an angel in that situation for his family and for him, and like I can't imagine the pain you've gone through losing someone like that. So
that's also another thing that like bothers me with like how people perceive me on social media, is because after he died, you would think I would never do a drug again, right? Like you would think, but I was in such a denial. I was such a mess. Like I drank for like 74 days straight. Like I was doing a bunch of coke. Like I was a fucking wreck. And then when the Jeffrey Kanye thing happened, I was like severely addicted to Adderall, and I was like, I wanted to make him proud on TikTok because I felt like I was like, well, I have to be someone here on now because he's not here to live out his dreams. So like a lot of the mistakes I've made over the past 2 years, and a TikToker named Aunt Karen was trying to bully me the other day on TikTok about discussing Ethan, saying, don't make me drag the past 2 years that you've done on the internet right now. And I was like, people don't understand that a lot of it came from like the mistakes that I've made that people think are wrong. I was just in the process of grieving someone I love very much.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's why I'm just so over this whole influencer like world, because people forget that like even probably you get a bunch of hate comments and stuff probably under your videos and people being rude. They don't understand that like you're a real human being with a life outside of what you show them, you know?
And if that was me at 16 doing that, like I would have made it, like, because I just, at that point I was so insecure, didn't know who I was fully, you know, going to college and all that like has given me so many experiences, like what you were saying, that it just like transforms who you are and, you know, really establishes like your moral
I feel like
belief.
that's the good part about college, because like think about it, me and you probably aren't really using our educations for our careers, but being in that environment is the perfect stepping stone into being an adult.
Yeah.
Because it's not about what you're learning in the classroom. Personally, I didn't learn anything. It's about like being out there and being exposed to so much stuff. And that's the whole point of it. So he didn't even get the chance, you know?
Yeah, that's so sad. Well, we can go ahead and wrap up soon. I want you guys to definitely go and check out Ava on all of her socials below, her Instagram, her TikTok, and go subscribe to that OnlyFans, girl. We're trying to pay our bills out here.
I know.
Is there anything you wanted to add? I had a really good conversation with you. Thank you for coming on.
Of course. No, I don't. There's nothing really I want to add. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, I hope your show thing like figures or works out, because like I'll be watching.
I think it'll be fun.
It would be so much fun. I actually just had like a guy come up to me last week and like pitched a reality show with one of the gay bars in West Hollywood. So like it kind of like would be like the home base of it, but I would be like a character on it and something. I'm like, oh, I don't know, but it sounds fun. Like reality TV sounds cool.
I think it's good. I think it's always a good opportunity. You never know what could happen from it, and like helps your social media grow.
Yeah. I'm just trying to like say yes to like anything that comes my way. So
that's what you should do. That's what I do. I never say no, because you never know what's gonna happen.
You've been on Def Noodle's channel, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that guy.
Why? Why did you go on Def Noodle's channel? Because with Monty, did you do? Like, are you friends with Monty? And he hooked you up, or?
No, I've known Def Noodles for a while, but he was like coming up as like the next Keemstar, right? The next drama channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he went off the rails. But he used to be very open and like with me and like very cool. Like, so I would go on and talk to him about whatever he wanted. But he's scary, you know? I don't know what happened. I just see his Instagram post and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's very easy for an influencer to break, or a YouTuber. I think we are watching him break in real time.
Yeah, I went on his show like shortly, like right when it started all happening, and it was like very weird. Like, cause even for me, like I was asking him like basic things, like, oh, how old are you? Like just normal things. But at that point, it wasn't out yet that he had been like lying about being 10 years older. He's actually 37, but he was saying he was 27. So like when I was asking him those things, like he thought I was like trying to get information from him, but I was like, oh, I was just trying to be like first time meeting you, like how old are you? Like whatever, you know, like basic things. But it was a weird, like, so when I saw you go on his show, I was like, girl, like reply to my DM. You're going on Def Noodles shit and like trying to get in contact with you.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know what's going on with his mental health though, but clearly there's probably something going on.
Yeah, something. But anyways, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I love how open you are, and there's so many stories here. Like I really do think like share your stories on TikTok. I feel like you could write a book at this point. Like
I want to write a book. One day there will be a book.
Or even like a podcast thing. Like your podcast episode with Julia was like so good. I loved her. I love her too. Her whole like podcast series, I listen to every episode. It is like just so good. She's like such a vibe.
Yeah, she was like one of the only people like that's a real legitimate celebrity that is not afraid to say she likes me, which is like she's just all for all the girls who are just like pushing against the norms of what it is to be a woman. I like that about her.
I like that too. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on. We can go ahead and wrap up. Go and check out everything linked below. Thank you so much, Ava, for coming on. And I'll see you guys in a new episode soon. Bye, guys.